On the 14th of June 2025, so just 11 days ago from now, I ran my first 100 miler. After coaching countless runners to 100-mile success, I finally got around to doing one myself. And I'm going to tell you how it went today. Spoiler alert, it went pretty well. It was the Centurion Running, a fantastic UK-based company that do a wide variety of ranges, races, 50 mile up to 100 mile and everything kind of in between. And the one I chose was the South Downs Way 100, part of the Grand Canaria World Trail Majors, a really fantastic event, and it went really well. It was a hot day. It has a habit of being pretty hot. It is the 14th of June, so it's kind of getting, right into the meat and bones of summertime. And it went really well. I have to say, I had a great day out, and I want to tell you all of the things that I did do, all of the things that I didn't do, some of the low points, how I troubleshot those low points, and how I just made it, quite simply, a great day. And I will tell you how it went. So here we go. First of all, it went well. As I've already mentioned, I finished in 27th place in 17 hours and 54 minutes. And I was up there mixing it up with some of the elites, and I actually beat some of the elites, some DNF'd, but I finished ahead of them. It was a really deep field, the deepest field they've ever had on the race. It was Mark Derbyshire's day. He actually broke the record for the course. He ran 13:52, broke a long-standing record of Mark Perkins, who ran it in 14:03. I think it was 11, 12 years ago. Not one of those kind of unbreakable records, but certainly a record that they thought was going to be really tough to beat. But if anybody was going to beat it, it was going to be Mark Derbyshire. He holds the records on all of the main trail hundreds now in the UK. So congratulations, Mark. Great race. Doing it for the over 40s. For myself, finished it in 17:54. Delighted with the time. I would have liked to have gone a little bit quicker. There were things in training that didn't quite go my way. But, that's life. I've got stuff going on. My wife with her cancer situation is obviously a big one. Flexibility is needed for that. And various other things. I got ill. That was one of them. But anyway, so it went great. Hot day. I only really went into a dark place around about mile 76, so just after the I think it was mile 77, so just after the second drop bag opportunity. I only took one drop bag because I had a crew member with me. More on that in a second. But I did take a drop bag for mile 76. I replenished everything. I was feeling pretty good until that point. I went through 100k in bang on, literally to the second, bang on 10 hours. So I was on 16-hour pace, which I think on the day would have put me in the top 10. But it's 100 miles. It is a long way. And I did fade a little bit, but generally, up until that point, I was running all the hills. Descents were going great. I was overtaking quite a lot of people. One thing that I did do that I wish I hadn't done was at the start, I was using handheld bottles for the whole race. I used a handheld bottle, went really well. I was a little bit worried that my shoulders would get a little bit tired, but they didn't. And I put that down to my strength training. But what I did at the start was I went to the bathroom, a sensible thing to do, right? Put my bottle down on the shelf and forgot to pick it up. Ran across the start line, running, and I was like, oh shit, where's my bottle? Didn't want to get disqualified. I wanted to make sure that it was all above board. I turned around, I ran back, and I got my bottle from inside said toilet. But what that meant is I did do about 0.7 of a mile longer than everybody else. And I basically started in last place on that first wave. So 300th place is where I started, and like a real long way back. I think I want to toot my own trumpet and say I think I did pretty well to get myself into 27th place by the finish, because I did add on a little bit of time and have to. I stayed calm. I think that's always one of the things that I say to people is, stay calm at the beginning. It is the time you need to stay calm. It was also really muggy, really warm. But put the foot down, felt really comfortable, and had an amazing first 100k. The reason I'm wearing this hat is because this is the hat that I wore for the whole race, apart from the final bit where it got a little bit dark and I had to put the head torch on. But yeah, shout out to Daryl and his family at Goku Projects. I do work with them in partnership. I get no commission at all, but if you are watching and you want one of these amazing hats, and there's some more behind me here, they do beautiful hats. Goku Projects, so UGOKU Projects. Jump online, go and order a hat. They do the best trail running hats. They're all custom designed, and this bucket hat was an absolute godsend during the day. So big shout out to Daryl and Goku Projects, amazing. Like I say, I don't get any commission from them, just supporting a lovely family business. And you can use code MAXIMUM10 for 10% discount. So yeah, first 100k went smashingly well, absolutely cruised it, was running amazingly. I was actually even asking myself at certain points saying, it's 100 miles, right? It's supposed to be hard. But yeah, the only real dark point I had was after that 76 mile point where I did feel like cramp was starting to take place, you know, quads and calves and hamstrings. It was kind of flashing in all different places, like cramping here and there. And I was a little bit worried because my pee was not a great colour. But thinking back on the race now, and doing that troubleshooting, I thought, right, why is my pee so dark? Is it because I am crazy dehydrated? What I didn't want to do was to end up with rhabdomyolysis, which is a pretty horrible condition, and yeah, I didn't want to be hospitalised because of that. So yeah, I did think, and I used my crew member Andy. Big shout out to Andy, who I coach and have coached for a couple of years. He came and crewed me. He was unbelievably good. Yeah, with me and him, we just thought I'd had 5 days of beat shots for the nitric oxide. I'd been drinking Coca-Cola at every aid station because, you know, that's the only time I drink a Coca-Cola is during an ultra. And I love Lipton iced tea, or just any iced tea, so peach iced tea or lemon iced tea. I'd had about 4 or 5 cans of that, so I had quite a bit of dark things to drink. So we put it down to that. But that was kind of the worst bit, was from mile 77 to mile 86, where I then saw Andy again. But we got the salt tabs. I used Precision Hydration. What we did was actually we used the 1500. This is a 500. We used the 1500 milligram tab in some water. I necked that, as well as replenishing my gels, and had half a pork pie as well, which is something else I like to have on ultras. You know, some protein, some fats, carbohydrates and salts, and it stops you from feeling a little bit hungry. I also had a couple of mouthfuls of my noodles, not the whole thing, but I had some noodles, and I felt great again, right up until my watch died. Garmin Fenix 8, where me and Garmin are currently testing it to see if there is a problem with the battery, because it should not have died at 15 hours. There's supposed to be 30 plus hours of battery life on these things. But anyway, so it died at mile 92, just as it was getting dark. Thanks. So I didn't have a map, but thankfully Centurion, great job with the course markings. I did have to concentrate very, very hard because it was dark, so all I had was my head torch to keep an eye out for the little reflective strips on the markings. But other than that, where I did have to slow down just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. But other than that, it went super well, and I finished pretty strong with a short little stride, which I thought felt like sub 5 minute mile pace. It was probably more like sub 10 minute mile pace at best. But yeah, it went super well. So let me tell you a little bit about my my approach. I am huge on making sure that the people I coach, but myself as well, that I am able to run really well during these ultras, as well as climb and descend well. The ability to run, because you know, when you look at a course, and whilst the South Downs Way is not, you know, super amounts of elevation, you know, when you see the figure 2,500 feet or 3,500 meters of elevation, you look at that and think, well, that's definitely not flat. And no, it definitely wasn't flat. But some people can get so focused, so tunnel vision on right, there's elevation in this race, so I've got to train loads of elevation. And yes, you do need to train that elevation, but even courses like UTMB, the Arc of Attrition, Western States, yeah, let's throw some of those big names out there. They have massive amounts of climbing, but they also have very significant runnable sections. So I am huge on making sure that I am trained to run. And actually that's one of the strongest parts of my racing, is that, you know, keep up with people on the uphills, pretty good on the downhills, but when it's flat, you know, I'm off, I'm gone, you know, 2:45 marathoner. So that really played into my strengths on race day, particularly where I had to start last and overtake as many people as I could. So that is one of the things I did do in my training, was I still got the road shoes on. I still did plenty of that road training. Obviously I'd only done the London Marathon 6 weeks prior, but yeah, it really played into my strengths on race day. The other thing I did is I did brilliantly with my hydration for once, other than that little spell where I felt like I was getting a bit crampy. Something I've fallen down on personally in many races is either not hydrating enough or hydrating too much. This time I got it absolutely spot on. I peed 4 times on course. Sorry to keep telling you this, but this is running. I peed 4 times on course, which was great. So I was obviously getting enough or some sort of hydration in. My electrolyte intake was pretty good, and generally I didn't feel thirsty or anything like that at any point. The other thing I did well alongside my hydration was I fueled really well. After the race, when I checked how many gel packets I'd gone through, I was averaging 2 Signs in Sport Beta Fuel gels per hour. Plus I was also drinking from, I'm pointing here, I didn't actually wear a vest. That was one thing I didn't do, was I didn't wear a vest. I actually wore a naked belt. Amazing bit of kit. It had all of the mandatory kit in, and it was enough to hold a soft flask in, as well as me having my handheld, plus my phone. Amazing bit of kit that was. But yeah, in my bottles I generally had Talk hydration and Talk energy drink, which then probably put me in the rough realms of around 90 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour. Bang on, went super well. So yeah, hydration and nutrition, absolutely felt like I nailed it. Even in some of the short, small spells where I thought, oh God, I don't feel like another gel. I don't feel like eating anything. I got it in me. I made sure I got it done. I also had intermittent caffeine gels from Sturker. They're pretty punchy, 150 milligrams of caffeine per gel. I had 3 of those during the whole race, plus Coca-Cola. So yeah, my fueling was really good and I felt amazing for the whole race. I didn't feel like I was, you know, in any kind of glycogen depletion at any point. And I was able to handle that because during training, I do practice gels. I practice gels a lot. I practice them during my long runs. I practice them on sessions. So if I'm doing a hard session, like speed work, hill work, tempo runs, that kind of stuff, I will take gels during those because that gets my gut ready for race day and primed to deal with the contents that I'm putting in it. So that worked super well. The other thing I did do was I cooled really well. Again, my amazing crew member Andy, who I coach, who came along, was awesome. He brought these ice packs, so we were putting ice on my head at the crew access points. I was dunking my hat in every bucket they had out there. I was also putting my hands in there because if you put your palms in there, that can help cool you really well. But also, I did some heat training too. Now, heat training is all the rage at the moment, and you don't need to do a David Roche and go out and do a 20-mile long run in a puffer jacket when it's already 40 degrees outside. I was doing incremental 30 to 45 minute sessions every now and then, probably 2-3 times a week for a period of about 4 weeks. I also did some before the London Marathon, so I probably had a little bit of carryover from that. But yeah, I didn't go mental with heat training. It can be very tiring. In fact, there was a period where There was a week where I did 4 heat suit sessions in 1 week, and it really whacked me out. I was so tired, because if you think about it, you've got heat stress, training stress, add it together, and yeah, it was a little bit much. I did some hot baths after sessions as well, and yeah, it worked really well for me. So many people were saying how hot it was on the day, and it was warm, don't get me wrong, but I handled it really well, and I didn't at one point feel like, oh God, I'm so hot, I want to jump in an ice bath at all. So there's some great benefits to be had from heat training if you do it right. So one thing else that I did do was I did stay in the moment. It can be so easy with something like, you know, an ultramarathon, even marathons, but certainly going into it, I was so, I think, not worried, but conscious about the fact that it's 100 miles. It's like 40 miles more than I've ever run before. And I need to stay calm. I need to stop thinking, holy shit, I've got 80 miles to go. Holy shit, I've got 60 miles to go. So I think I did a pretty good job of staying very much in the moment, very much in a state of get to the next aid station. And of course, like the South Downs Way 100 by Centurion events, where there are 12 aid stations, so you know the average is that they are about 8 miles apart, was to just go, right, get to that aid station, great, fantastic, you've got to that one, now get to the next one. And I did such a good job of that. The only time I actually thought I've got X amount of distance to go was when I saw my my crew at mile 65, I think it was, where I saw Andy, and I said to him, how have I only got like 50k to go? This is crazy. Because it was going so well. That first 100k was amazing. I felt great. Yeah, 50k, yeah, with just sort of 50, 60k to go. I couldn't believe like how quick the day was going. So that was the only point I thought, oh crap, I've still got, well not oh crap, but I thought about how much distance was left. Other than that, it was a case of, right, got to that aid station, now get to the next one. So there's a little bit about what I did do with the distance and what I didn't do with the distance. I did break it down into aid station to aid station, and I didn't, apart from that one moment, think, holy crap, I've got a whole load of distance left to go. And that worked really well to just let the time pass, you know, boom, got to that aid station, great, now the next one, now the next one. It just broke it up so well. Other than that, I can't really tell you much else about low points and how I troubleshot, because it did just go really well. Yeah, I was a bit sore at the end, you know, it was quite difficult in the dark at the end, so I did have to take it a little bit easy, particularly that final descent down into Eastbourne where the finish line was, because it's like a gorge, a very narrow gorge. You can only put one foot in front of the other rather than, you know, running properly. A few ankle rolling stones in the way as well, so I had to be quite careful going through there in the dark. Whilst really keeping an eye on the course markings. But yeah, other than that, it went really well. Post race, I did get cold very quickly, so I was quite glad that Andy was there at the finish line with my camper van and my my dry robe. So I did warm up pretty quickly, and I was able to sleep in the van on the way home safely with my seatbelt on, I might add. But yeah, really the only issues I've had post race was, I won't show you them, but I did lose 3 toenails. I think one of them was probably going to go anyway, but yeah, my toenails didn't do very well. I wore the Adidas Agrovich Speed Ultra shoes for the whole thing, didn't change my shoes, just kept going. Didn't actually notice at the time that there was any issues, but I did end up with a few blisters afterwards, and I think I pretty much bashed my my toes at on the end of those shoes, but they were still amazing shoes, and I would wear them again. Maybe just need to do a little bit of extra care with my feet. Recovery has gone amazingly. It's what, yeah, 10-ish, 12 days, something like that post race, 11 days post race as I'm recording this, and yesterday, so 10 days post race, I went to a local, it's a 4.2k loop. It's a relay race. Didn't want to run fast, but I ended up running fast, and ran that loop in 15 minutes at yeah, 5:45 per mile pace, 3:20 per kilometre pace. So recovered really well. I put that down to strength training to eating well to training well consistently. I'm just fairly well conditioned, and I do tend to recover pretty well because of that. Post race, I also ate pretty well. You know, I got home and in fact the whole week afterwards I had a week off. Yeah, I think it's important to do that after such a big race. Had a week off, didn't run at all until the Saturday, where I just went for a gentle jog with my dogs. Yeah, otherwise I ate like a horse that week. Some of it very healthy, but also I took the opportunity to have, you know, a few dirty dinners. Like we had an Indian takeaway one night, we had a Chinese takeaway one night, we had a McDonald's. But amongst that, I ate pretty healthily, and you know, got the vegetables and protein in alongside that, and yeah, feel good and ready to go. I think what I've learned from the race, for my personal racing, I think I've learned about my hydration needs. I think I've learned a lot from that. You know, it was hot, and whilst I had been doing the heat training, I've really cocked up. I've really cocked up my hydration in some races. I had during Lakeland 50 the previous year. I finished pretty well, but I couldn't fuel. I had like 300 grams of carbs for the entire race, the entire 10-hour race, because I just couldn't fuel, and that was because I was dehydrated. A couple of months later, I went to CCC, unfortunately DNF'd that, but an amazing race, absolutely loved it. But in my bid to stay hydrated, I went too far and I had too much plain water, didn't have enough electrolytes. So I think one of the biggest things I've learned from the South Thames Way 100 is my hydration needs. I think I've pretty much got a good grip on that now, and I'll take that forward into future races. In fact, I'm doing Lakeland 50 again in a few weeks' time, so I'll be taking that with me. I think I've also learned from doing my first 100 miler. It's something I've talked to all my athletes about anyway, because you know, you learn to coach these things through certifications, through training to be a coach, through experience of coaching other people. But I definitely think one of the biggest things I learned was that breaking the race down, forgetting about how far the race is, just break it down into aid station to aid station and just focus on getting to that next aid station. That is one of my biggest takeaways, and I will be reiterating that. I do anyway, but I will be reiterating that with athletes that I coach moving forward. So there you go, the South Thames Way 100. I would highly recommend it. Brilliant race, really runnable, beautiful route, some stunning views, yeah, some stunning fields to run through, some cows to deal with, which I'm not a big fan of, but yeah, it's such a busy route with walkers and cyclists and things. The cows just weren't that bothered, so I did trip over the foot of a cow that was sleeping. Well, I think it was sleeping, although cows sleep standing up, I think. Anyway, that was it. Amazing race, absolutely loved it. If you think you need some help with 100 milers, please do reach out. I now have the personal experience myself, but I've coached hundreds of people to 100 mile glory already. Why not come and join my crew and see if you can get 100 mile glory yourself?